Honestly, I don't know how this keyboard is held together. This is some black magic voodoo-ish, seriously. This is the link65 and we're going to provide some quick first impressions of the revolutionary screwless design. Yes, so the only metal on metal contact will be the three pieces, the top piece, the bottom piece, and the back shelf. Let's see if this keyboard can hold itself together. Allab has been known for their thoughtful foam-based designs. It's wildly popular in China and even in the West. Foam here, tons of foam. Some keyboard purists may find this to be a cheap trick, but screw them. If it works, it works. I only have a problem when a keyboard absolutely requires 2 or 3 dampening layers, because at that point, it's going to normalize the sound and it's gonna sound boring. I watched Keyboard's science-based approach to this keyboard sound and I definitely agree. We definitely want more airy, open sounds for our keyboards. The build process itself for this board was horrendous. This fancy sushi roll PCB made it extremely hard to install snap-in stabilizers. Of course, I'm favoring TX stab these days, and that was definitely a mistake here. Because this is a 1.2mm PCB, you're going to need shims for it, and on top of that, you're going to need wedges just for the TX stabs themselves, so it ended up being very difficult to get all the stabs in here and snap them into place. No wonder the directions showed screw-ins. This is from the showcase, and it looks like the remains of a late night without the misses. Now, with the plate and PCB done, we put in the rubber screws. Hey, these finally don't look like little peepees. The design using a shelf to hold the top and bottom together is really cool, but it's scary that the only thing holding it in place, technically, is the rubber. If I were to ship this out, I'd definitely wrap it in a few layers of saran wrap to hold it in place, and then wrap the entire thing in tape, just for security. But with this, I'm not gonna shake test it. Not gonna shake test it. Not bad. It survived the unscientific shake test. Now I should throw it onto my bed, shouldn't I? The keyboard itself feels fine on the desk, but it does feel a bit wobbly in the back due to the case design, which means you have to hold down the sides when picking it up, which leads me to my next thing. The back finish somehow just soaked up my acid hands. According to the notes, this is PVD stainless steel, which makes sense as to why the board is so heavy, but also is the reason why it's so fingerprinty. I told myself I would just clean it up with some cloth after the stream, and it didn't go away. I would not handle the keyboard from the back, sides only. But damn, there are no love handles on this keyboard. Just be careful with this one, okay? This is my first time trying the spring mounting in person. Whoa, I just realized that. That's wild, dude, that's wild. I did see the spring keyboard and I thought it looked cool, but it ended up sounding pretty similar to the other Allabs boards or just other gasket mounting. It looks really cool with the rubber screws interacting with the little hole in the spring and then kind of being held in place by springs instead of poron foam. It's comfy, sure, but not different enough. The palm plate and the aluminum plate provided much more of a difference in the flex here. Like I've mentioned in prior videos, when you have a keyboard with a lot of flex cuts in the PCB, the sound's going to end up quieter. This keyboard is no different, even with the full length flex cuts here. Another thing about the full length flex cuts is the PCB pieces are held together by ribbon cables and it doesn't feel very sturdy. Multiple times during the stream, I thought I broke the PCB. In this board, we did Penyus on full palm with no foam, and it was almost quieter than my semi-silence that I recently built with. And the top left special key right here from the China group buy ended up clanging and rattling in the case. Oh God. Turn the bus around. We definitely needed some dampening, so we added in just the insulation layer, which was a piece of white foam, and it definitely removed that rattle. At the bare minimum, you do want the insulation layer at the bottom of the case, which is okay with me because it doesn't completely nuke the sound.
Yeah, somebody follow.
There was no more clanging of the keycap, and it didn't have any more bad sounds. We ended up trying it with another layer of the black foam as well, and here's the sound test. Then, as I was trying to wrap up this stream, Tremolo Chung dragged me and made me try the PCB foam only too. So we rebuilt with the aluminum flex plate, PCB foam, and nothing else. The full aluminum had plenty of flex cuts, but the PCB foam ended up kind of making that entire unit pretty sturdy. In the end, the flex cuts weren't really making this as wild as you imagined. It felt solid to type on, comfortable, but not Omega Flexy like something like the Thera 75 or plateless flex cut PCB keyboard. There is such thing as too flexible, as on the stream, I tried a vertex angle with the half plate and flex cut PCB, and it flexes so much that I lose my grip and then end up mistyping, and it's just no longer fun. The final build here with PCB foam and aluminum plate sounded the best. The reduced travel with the Penyus is distracting for me, but I can't understand the draw toward the raindrop sound of long pole switches. Another plus is that these are one of the deepest long pole switches that I've tried. And even with the TX stabilizers, different bars, and multiple rebuilds, the spacebar has some reverb, very similar to the Mr. Suit. It's not a rattle, it's not a tick, but it just feels off. I think it just has to do with the plates and the mounting. Would I buy this keyboard? I honestly probably wouldn't. The screwless concept is cool and the PCB is wild, but it's just not different enough to go for this over a more affordable keyboard. With that said, it has a very inoffensive look. Honestly, it looks a little bit like the QK65, and the back looks like what the Mode 65 should have looked like. As you can see, I just cleaned off this case before the video, and just handling here has left fingerprints again. And quick note, the way to clean this, I spoke to OwlLab and they said to use an eraser. As long as you clean off the surface, use an eraser, the fingerprints will come off, but they immediately come back. I just washed my hands, so why is it fingerprinting instantly? It's just very odd and looks very distracting and dirty all the time. I don't know if the ability to erase the fingerprints is a good or bad thing. The price is $400 plus shipping, and it is admittedly a short 2.5 month group buy. They don't have it immediately ready to ship, so they just call it a group buy to not piss people off. It's very short, like a pre-order. It is a decent option if you want a middle of the ground 65% keyboard that is aluminum, not plastic, and has a cool mounting style. It can go toe to toe with the Vega, and I personally think the sound and feel has more options than the Mode 65. It doesn't sound hollow without the force break, so they did nail a case design, especially with all those innovations that they've had. But if you don't care for the novelty of this sushi roll PCB, go ahead and consider the QK65. It may sound foamier, but you can build the QK65 without foam or change the foam types to be able to get a more open sound. It just so happens that this link65 comes with this white foam that is a little bit more porous than the typical black poron foam. And it's just way cheaper. But you can mod around it or not use the foam to get closer sound to the sound of the link65. This keyboard can be a fun buy to add to your collection, but only if you're some niche keyboard nerd and enjoy the novelty. I know you're out there, there's nothing wrong with it, but most of the innovation is inside the case that you'll never see. There's just so many better, more affordable options available these days that it's hard to suggest this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.